Hey friends, welcome to Gunny Moto. For those of you who are new to the show, I wanted to tell you what this project is. My name is Kurt Linville. I fell in love with riding dirt bikes as a kid, and when I sold my motorcycle, I always thought I would get another one right away. But I met a wonderful woman, we had 4 kids, and now the kids are all adults, and after 30 years, I've finally got my new motorcycle. I bought a 20-year-old DRZ 400, and I live in Gunnison County, Colorado. And the goal here is that Gunnison County has over 3,000 miles of BLM and forest roads. It's a big county and a lot of roads, and I wanted to see the hidden parts of the county that most people wouldn't get to see unless they're willing to go off-road for it. So today, I am going to take you on a ride. If you go north out of Gunnison on Highway 135, just a couple miles, you can hang a ride and end up on Lost Canyon Road. And Lost Canyon Road has good BLM access and forest access, and it opens up to a whole bunch of BLM and forest roads. And it is Memorial Day, and in Colorado on Memorial Day, you can have snow, you can have freezing temperatures, you can have nice weather. Never really know what you're going to get. As you can see probably, the high passes are still clearly closed, and only 2 weeks ago it snowed off and on for a week. But this time of the year at the lower elevations it melts off quickly, and so we're going to find some mud today, but probably not any snow. And I want to show you this route going up Lost Canyon Road, and then we end up on, I believe it's called Fisher Road. We're going to go over some high places and see some beautiful, beautiful scenery, and then drop down into Almont. It's not a really long ride, but it's a fun one, and I discovered it just 2 days ago. And that's Gunnison County for you. I've been riding here now for a couple of years, and I'm constantly finding new routes and new roads where I've never been. So the goal of this show is to share Gunnison County with you. Sometimes I talk about geology, sometimes I talk about history, sometimes I talk about whatever is on my mind, but I just completed a book. And I'm going to be using several episodes to kind of get the talking points down about my book. Now, this is not me reading the book or quoting the book. This is just me talking about some of the subjects that you'll find in the book while I ride. And hope you enjoy it. Hope that it might be meaningful for you. If not, turn the sound off. Enjoy the ride. But the book is called 99 Words, How to Build a Better Life. And it's written for people of all ages, but especially for young adults who are getting started in life, who are looking for foundational ideas and concepts that will help them to have a meaningful, more enjoyable life. And might as well start the bike and get going. My 20-year-old DRZ 400. I had a lot of carburetor work to do to it. I just put new tires on it this spring, but it's actually done really well. Replaced the battery. No regrets, man. It's a great bike. Loving it. The riding on this road is not horrible. You will not make it in a passenger vehicle, but you could make it with an SUV. Of course, motorcycles and ATVs do great. So the first chapter of 99 Words really is pretty introductory, so there's not a lot to talk about. We are going to have a few creek crossings, nothing too crazy. Here's the idea. There are a lot of things that can help to give life meaning and purpose and make it more enjoyable. But a lot of people, I think, have been kind of disillusioned by what modern culture is thrown at them. Not everyone has had a really great opportunity for a good, solid, happy start in life. So if you're a young adult, maybe you're in high school, maybe you're in college, maybe you just graduated from college, this book is really written for you to give you not answers necessarily, but ideas. And I don't want to tell you what to think. Rather, the idea is to try to help you work out some skills about how to think so that you can decide the sorts of things that you could do to live a better life. There's a lot of nihilism in young adults today. Nihilism is a philosophy that says, you know, life doesn't have a lot of meaning or purpose. If you believe in evolution, then that tells you that you're just a random occurrence, that you weren't created for a purpose. And if you're just a random batch of chemicals that happen to somehow build consciousness, then maybe it does seem strange that life has meaning and purpose. But I'm here to tell you that it does. And I'm here to tell you that this book is intended to help you discover your meaning and your purpose. And if you do it right, then your life can be filled with joyful moments, happy moments, meaningful moments, and you can build a life worth living and live it for the rest of your life. That's what this book is about. It's not really intended to be self-help. Rather, it's just intended to be encouragement and to give people new perspective. So in Gunnison County, I'm surprised this gate was closed 2 days ago. In Gunnison County, there's a lot of open range cattle grazing. And so when you find a gate on public land, you're supposed to leave it as you found it, because there may be cattle in there that don't need to get out. Someone opened that gate. It could be the rancher, it could be someone that didn't follow the rules. Or maybe their plan is to close it on the way back out. Regardless, if you find a gate, it doesn't mean you can't go there, unless of course it's posted that you're not supposed to. If you find a closed gate, it usually means leave it as you found it. It's for the cattle. I'm going to get back to the book in a minute, but let me tell you a little bit about Gunnison. Gunnison County is one of the biggest counties in Colorado. I mean, it's about as big as some small states, probably. And the southern half of the county is high-altitude desert with sagebrush. And the northern half of the county is the Elk Mountain Range. And so it's high alpine forest. You have Crested Butte, the town in the ski area, on the north end of the valley. And north of that, if you can get through the Elks, there's some other communities that most people access from the Aspen side. There's Crystal, Marble, over by Carbondale. Gunnison is a college town. We have Western Colorado University, which is a really great school, small town. And it's also has a lot of history as a mining community back in the beginning, and ranching community that's been around for, you know, well over 100 years. What I love about it, besides there's lots of great writing, what I love about it is that there's so much variety. And this gate's closed. I don't know why they put it on a rock. I got it to close just fine 2 days ago. Early season, which this is considered early season. Then the southern half of the county is delightful riding. And it does seem like it tightened up. Don't know why. But we got it. So to catch my breath a little bit, later in the year, you can go enjoy riding in the higher alpine mountain beauty. So the variety between the high desert, arid, semi-arid, and the mountain beauty to the north means you get lots of great rides in for kind of an extended season for Colorado. So we're approaching around 10,000 feet in elevation right now. Gunnison itself is at 7,700. And around here, when you get to about 10,000 feet, that's where the trees start. And BLM usually gives way to forest land somewhere in that area. But back to the book. There are lots of things that can make life fulfilling and give life a lot of great meaning. And I found a lot of meaning in my life by loving on 4 kids and a wonderful wife. Trying to give those kids the best opportunities that they could have to live their own meaningful lives. And we've had so much fun. But now, 3 of my kids have graduated from college and 1 is halfway through. So, it was time. Time for a new project. Time for new meaning. Therefore, there's 99 words, and there's this motorcycle. You know, I don't know the history of this cabin. If you hang a right here, I believe you can end up on more forest roads up on top, and I've not been up there yet this year, worried about mud and snow. But I'll go up there soon now. Left is the way we're going. It'll take us around the shoulders of these mountains and then down into Almont. But this cabin may have been a hunter's cabin or a shepherd's cabin or a miner's cabin. See the piles of dirt there? Don't know what that's about, but it could be tailings from a prospector's dig. Gunnison had a boom for mining, but a lot of it, believe it or not, ended up being coal mining up around Mount Carbon. There are precious metals that were sought out here as well. And there are still active mines in the county. But those mining days are long since over. So this time of the year now, this is the end of May. You notice all the water. Snow is still melting and the springs are gushing and there's a lot of wet. So just know once you get up here, it's going to be like this. It'll dry out in a month or so. There won't be much. Of course, we still have amazing water here. We have the Gunnison River, a mighty river that flows around the edge of Gunnison, and it's a great fishing river for trout fishing. A lot of people float it for fun or for fishing. And then we have Blue Mesa Reservoir, which is amazing for boating, sailboats, motorboats. I don't know where that road to the right goes. I'll find out someday. But this is the route I took the other night, and I really enjoyed it. I'm going to pause for a minute. If you look up, you see the buds on the aspen there. The leaves are just starting to come out. These aspen groves are beautiful all summer long, and then in the fall when they turn golden. If you watch some of the early episodes on Gunnimoto, you'll get to see them. They're just beautiful. But back to the book. Nihilism is, in my opinion, is a self-defeating philosophy for life. Because it more or less just says life doesn't have any meaning, so why care? I disagree with that. Life has huge meaning. And my book, 99 Words, really is about the journey to discovering what your meaningful life is. And realizing that you, every one of us, has amazing, amazing value. Pause for a minute here. To the south, we're seeing the San Juans, and that's Uncompahgre, a 14er. To the west, we're seeing the West Elks. That is, I believe, West Elk Peak. It's a 13,000-foot peak. As we continue on through here, we're going to see mountains to the north into the Elk Range and more of the West Elks. The trees are really coming out down there. Here's why you are valuable. You are valuable because of the amazing potential that is inside of you. You don't know what kind of a difference that you may make in this life. But one thing is certain, you can't live in this space-time continuum without using resources, making waste. If you're living, you're making a difference. You're changing your environment. You're making a difference for the people around you. And that can be positive and that can be negative, but you are changing things just because you exist. And I believe that you can change things for amazing, amazing goodness. And I believe that that's one of the best ways to find meaning in life. Each of us has interests to explore, things to delve into, to learn about. Each of us has a unique set of aptitudes, skills, talents that we can dive into, and as we find fulfillment in doing things that we love to do, we end up having an impact that can be very, very positive for our fellow humans. So, I don't care if you have decided. Okay, so I interrupted myself there. The road to the left goes down to a state wildlife area, and it's closed to motorcycles. I found that out the other day, so I'm not going to go down there. This tree right here is the landmark to remind me that this is where I take my right turn. I don't care if you are an atheist, an evolutionist, and a materialist, and you think that you're just a random combination, a soup of chemicals that has consciousness. Or if you believe in a divine, loving creator who made you for a purpose, for a reason. You can still have good, fantastic meaning in life. I'm gonna have to get up this rock outcropping here. Yeehaw! By the way, I was never an amazing motocross rider, never raced motorcycles. I've spent thousands, literally, of hours riding motorcycles off-road like this. I'm a better off-road rider than I am a pavement rider for sure. You put me on the tarmac and I feel like a fish out of water sometimes. Though I'm learning, it's fun. But if you want to know what the skill level is required for this kind of a ride, this one is not a beginner ride. I would call it intermediate. Mostly because of rock outcroppings and mud, stuff like I just went over. It'd be easy to choose a bad line, hit a tree root on the wrong way, and have some issues. It gets a little bony. There's some rocks. And this is where motorcycles excel. Seems to me, because if you're in a 4x4, you get bounced around so much. On a motorcycle, it just eats it, you know? It just goes right over it. Amazing machines. And this DRZ 400 has no trouble here. I'm sure there's some motorcycles that might do a little better in these conditions. But if you want something that's bulletproof, low maintenance, dependable, DRZ 400 is an amazing motorcycle. Has plenty of power, and it'll get you there. So in this book, I talk a lot about different philosophies for living. And I talk a lot about different perspectives and how some perspectives make life worse and some perspectives make life better. And often it's not a matter of wrong and right so much as it is just looking at something and going, oh, that makes sense for my life, right? And I don't want to leap too far ahead in the book and start diving into all those philosophies, but I do want to say this much. You have so much marvelous potential. You are so valuable. And as you make your way through this life, you're planting seeds, whether you even know it or not. And as those seeds germinate, grow, then you don't know what the fruit will be. You really don't. You don't know what the fruit will be. Yeehaw. This mud is slippery. We should talk a little bit about mud in Gunnison, which I've talked about before. As you can see, this side of this valley is a lot of black mud, very slippery. And I'm going to call this the east side of the valley, kind of east central. As you go to the west side, you get into some clay. Instead of black, it's gray and tan. And that stuff is greased lightning. I mean, it is slicker than hot snot on butter. And if you ride that stuff when it's wet, you're going to have quite the time. I can tell you. As you travel south, you get into a lot of sand, crushed granite, and that handles moisture really well, and you can just travel at any time because it doesn't get muddy. And as you go higher, even around here, you get into more granite, crushed granite, and rocky stuff that doesn't make mud. Bump these kind of lower shoulders in Gunnison County have this darker looking mud, this black mud, and it's pretty slippery. But it's not as bad as the clay that's on the other side. Let me explain where that clay came from. So when I was pointing the camera at the West Elks and said that was West Elk Peak, there was a volcano there millions of years ago that was over 20 million, millions of years ago, over 20,000 feet high. And it erupted, and there were a series of eruptions over the eons. And most of the geology of this valley was defined by that volcano or by the La Garita volcano, which was down south of here, which happened to be the biggest volcano on Earth that at least was in any sort of known geological history. It makes Yellowstone look like a pipsqueak. Between those volcanoes and others in the area, there's just an awful lot of igneous rocks, lava rocks, basalts, and a lot of breccia. Now, breccia is where stuff that was blown out of the volcano got buried and packed down until it became a soft rock. And that breccia weathers pretty easily. You can break it off, scrape it off, and what you're doing essentially is freeing volcanic ash. That volcanic ash makes that kind of tan-colored clay. And it is so slippery. I am not kidding. Okay. Again, the rule is, leave the gate as you found it. You see the sign on this one says, please keep gate closed. So I can only assume it should be that way all the time. What a view. I know that the GoPro flattens this out, but it is so green and beautiful right now. I don't know why these gates are more difficult today than they were 2 days ago. Woo. But I do think I know why people leave them open. Wow. Take a moment and look at this. You know, the valley down there is kind of subdivided ranch land, hobby farms, and some subdivisions with good-sized lots. And then as you go a little bit further to the left, to the south, that's where the town of Gunnison is, nestled right there. The Gunnison River goes through that valley and up against those bluffs that are in the shadows. And then it continues to Blue Mesa Reservoir. So right there, straight ahead, that's West Elk Peak, and that's where the volcano was that created the geology for most of this area. To the east, behind me, is Fossil Ridge. And Fossil Ridge is where the sea floor from an ancient sea was lifted up to over 12,000 feet. You can go up there and find fossils of sea animals. It's just kind of crazy. So it's not just that we have volcanic sediments, it's that we also had huge uplifting. I think the volcanoes created a lot of uplift, and so did the tectonic plates as they formed the Rocky Mountains. As you go north into the Elks, you find a lot of sandstone at very high elevations. That's sedimentary. It came from seafloors. And then, of course, you can also get into granite and lots of other pegmatite and also lots of other types of metamorphic rocks. It has everything. It really does. Here's one simple key to enjoying life. It's doing something that you love to do, but doing it in a way that can make a positive difference for others. That's one of many, many tips that you'll learn in this book. So you nihilists out there, nihilism quite often leads to some very self-destructive lifestyles. If you believe that life is meaningless and that you don't matter, I'm here to tell you, you matter. You are so valuable. The potential inside of you is nearly infinite. It is unimaginable what a difference you'll make. And as you are making differences and planting those seeds, I like to think of it as throwing a stone into a pond, but a very big pond. And the pond, in a way, is space-time, right? You throw a stone into a pond, you make waves and ripples that spread out. And when you create a splash, you don't know where those ripples are going to end up. It could be even after you're long gone that those little waves crash on someone else's shore and makes a difference for them. You matter. You are so important and valuable. And I'm here to tell you, it's worth building a meaningful life. You're here. Why not enjoy it? It's getting a little sandier. Now, I'm standing right now, and I don't stand as much as I would like, and the reason is because I'm tall, and my handlebars are down around my kneecaps, it feels like. I'm going to get some risers for my handlebars so that it's more manageable, because standing is definitely the way to go. Hey, look at this. Aww. Mule deer.